22 minutes after 8 o'clock, you're on Red Alert Radio on Peterborough.fm. Joining me is Gerald Celente. Good evening, Gerald.
Good evening.
And do tell us, where are you based at the moment?
Excuse me, what?
Where are you based? We
are in Colonial Kingston, New York. It's about 2 hours due north of New York City in the foothills of the Catskill Mountains. And it's also a place that has its roots in the American Revolution. It was first, of course, founded by the Dutch. There's a lot of Dutch architecture here. And there are more stone buildings from the Revolutionary War period, the colonial period, than anywhere else in the United States. And of course, there's the negative sides of this as well. They slaughtered all the Native Americans. But be that as it may.
I was just about to say, you just sold me my next vacation then, but there we go.
Until the Indian popped in.
Anyway, let me introduce Valentine to you, Gerald.
Welcome to the show, Gerald.
And here's Pedro.
Hello, Valentine.
Hello, Gerald. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you on board.
Pleasure.
Right, I wonder if we could start with gold. We've got your latest edition of the TrendsJournal, and of course you are the publisher of it. The website is TrendsJournal.com, where people can find more. This is the spring issue, volume 21, number 34. And within this, we'll get to quite a few points, because there's quite an interesting little section which is all about people in states of denial. But where I'd like to start is something which someone said to me the other day, because they do like shooting me down on things, and I wonder if you could assist. They were saying, well, there you go, that was a daft thing, buying all that gold, it's all gone down in value now. What were you thinking?
Okay, let's look at the wonderful stock market. In 2007, it hit a high, and the high was about 14,000. Today, as we look at the wonderful stock market, was it 2007? Now here we are into 2013. The stock market is at a roaring 14,690. Which means that just for adjusting for inflation to bring it back to its 2007 level, it should be at about 1580. That's just for that's so it didn't. In other words, that's saying it hasn't grown since 2007. Now let's look at gold. Gold back then was about $740 an ounce. Today, as we speak, it's about $1,430 an ounce. Look at the headlines today in Bloomberg. They don't have the gold coins anymore in America for certain sizes that the mint is printing. There's runs on gold throughout the world. This market, as I believe it, is being artificially beaten down by the central banks, whether it's the United States, whether it's the UK, whether it's the ECB or the Bank of Japan. And the reason being is that the only reason that this recovery, as they call it, has any steam or juice at all is because the money junkies keep printing all of this digital crap not worth the paper it's not printed on. And they're debasing the currencies in front of our eyes. So for me, gold is still gold, and it's being driven down on the paper markets with the naked short selling and all of the scams and schemes that they do. And if anybody thinks that that's a conspiracy theory, see if you can remember 5 letters, LIBOR.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. They rigged the interest rate game. Hundreds of trillions of dollars. How about this one? They're rigging the bond game, and it's not even done in behind closed doors. What do you think quantitative easing is? I love the love the white shoe boy language over there from Draghi and the ECB. How about ongoing monetary transactions? Yeah, you could shove that one too. You're devaluing the currencies in front of our eyes. It's the greatest bank robbery in world history, and the banks are doing the robbing.
So now is the time to buy in terms of gold.
Well, I'm not telling anybody what to do. I'll tell you a strategy. I'm not an investment advisor. The strategy of a good friend of mine. Every month he buys what he can afford in gold and silver. Been doing it for 25 years. You realize how that averages out?
Well,
It's the perfect averaging out. When you go back 25 years ago, you were buying this stuff at nothing. And then, you go up with the ups and downs. But look what happened here. Here's the story for gold for me. Let's just suppose that you're a Greek Cypriot. And all of a sudden, you wake up on a Saturday when the banks are closed, and they close them. Holiday. Bank. That's perfect Orwellian language. A holiday? You can't get your money out, and then they're going to steal it from you? So anyway, you're a Greek Cypriot. You can't. The ATM machines are closed down. Banks are closed. It's Saturday. We're not going to open up until Tuesday. Tuesday comes along, we're not going to open up until Thursday. Thursday comes along, we're not going to open up until next Tuesday. Tuesday comes along, we're not going to open up until next Thursday. Almost 2 weeks you can't get any dough. Suppose you had silver and gold coins. You think you could buy anything that you needed? You think you could have got what you needed, but you could have got it at a good price. Because they're getting hip to it. This paper is a joke. Look at today's headline in the Financial Times. Economic slowdown.
Like it's a new thing.
Yeah, right. Now they say it. Oh, wow, blow me over, man. Didn't know that.
That actually leads into a really good point, Gerald. We're on the eve of finding out our new GDP figures for this last quarter here in the UK. And, of course, we all know that we haven't grown, but it's going to be interesting to see how they try to massage the figures and shift the language around to make it seem as if we are having some sort of growth. But, my question to you is, when do you think they're going to start to finally use the word a depression rather than calling the slowdown of the economy a recession, as they have been now year after year after year? Obviously, at some point, we're going to have to admit that things are looking quite bleak, let's say, and not so rosy as they want it to appear.
They won't admit it. I mean, how could they not admit it in Spain? What do you have? Nearly 30% unemployment throughout Europe. I mean, the average is a youth unemployment around 50%. Greece is 30% official unemployment. Portugal, Ireland. Throughout, and again, I saw the numbers coming out of the UK today as well. We're going into another recession. You never got out of the last one.
Exactly, yes.
Hey, I got an idea. You know how you're going to get your mind off it? I say we got to bomb Syria. How's that?
Yeah.
That'll change things. These people, they're out of their minds. Oh, you're going to go into a foreign country? Yeah, to get the people's minds off it. Look what just happened over here in the States with this Boston Marathon thing. Do you realize that they called martial law?
Oh, yeah.
And you know that it's not even in the press. Everybody, USA. You hear all these morons chanting. When are they going to call it a depression? What difference does it make? It's only for the imbeciles to wait for the authorities to call it anything. And I'm ashamed of what happened in this country. They're cops, the goon squads. They got enough armor on them to go to the Battle of the Bulge unscathed. And then they're going door to door, ripping people out of their homes. People coming out with their hands up, with a robe on and no shoes, as they're trying to hunt down a 19-year-old kid. They closed down 100 square miles around Boston. They stopped the trains from running between New York and Boston for one kid. Look what happened in the UK during those years and in Ireland with the IRA. Yeah, bomb would go off. They wouldn't close down the whole damn country.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying to you is they're doing this to put martial law in place. The economies are breaking down. You know my saying, when people lose everything and have nothing left to lose, they lose it. And so I believe that they did these exercises to see how far they can go and what they can get away with. And what they got away with was martial law, a state of siege. Do not leave your house.
It's absolutely incredible stuff, and I think the thing is, it's a question of people not being able to get into the mindset of the people who are actually behind all this. It's something we haven't heard about in this country, but has gone down over there in the USA, is something called S716, which is related to the Stop Trading on Congressional Knowledge or STOCK Act. Now, basically, this act was there to stop insider trading by various politicians and members of the Senate, etc., etc. And we have that wonderful sort of serenade when they said, "Oh, we've got this Stock Act in now. There'll be none of this insider dealing and insider trading information anymore." And then Obama's come along and just repealed that section. So it's basically sort of a happy hunting ground now once more. And these are the sort of people that are actually in charge.
Yeah, you can never trust their word.
And in the
you know who they are? They're very simple to identify. These are the same people you couldn't stand in high school and college that wanted to be class president and head of the student council. The suck-ups, the brown-nosers, the glad-handers, the overly ambitious, and the insincere. These ugly jerks that would suck up to anybody to get to where they wanted to go. And now people believe them. They roll out a red carpet for the clowns, the prime ministers, the chancellors, the presidents, the parliamentarians, the senators, and the authorities. And everybody applauds. Do you know what disgusts me the most? Is how low the human spirit has sunk. So they look up to these people. That's what gets me. And until that changes, nothing is going to change. Because anybody that could look up to their class president or head of the student council doesn't deserve to call themselves an adult, a self-respecting human being.
Which brings me to an article in the latest Trends Journal, available at trendsjournal.com. The Great I Don't Want to Hear It trend. And this is absolutely brilliant because it's something I've been saying here over the last couple of weeks, that we're actually getting to a tipping point here where the objective of those who are controlling everything that is going on is to divide and rule, and the fault line is going to be those who believe the propaganda that they are being fed and those who don't, and those who look at it and go, hang on a minute, you're missing half the facts. What about this information but you're not taking into account? What about in the case of the Boston marathon bombings, these pictures of guys with backpacks who we're told just to ignore, don't worry, they're nothing to do with it at all, move along. And this article actually summarises it brilliantly in terms of how people just don't want to know if it disrupts their lives. They'd rather not know. They'd rather face away from the oncoming train. And I mean, Gerald, how do you actually? I mean, you go into sort of some good tactics here, as to tell people the good news that is there from what's coming down the tracks, and how if they know, they can be prepared. I mean, can you go through sort of in a Reader's Digest version how people can actually get the positives out of all what people see as negativity?
The thing is, to me, at this point of my life, it really comes back to the individual. There's a story at the end of the Trends Journal, a letter from a fellow, Don Powell. It was one of the best letters I've ever received. And how he said that from reading the Trends Journal and watching our Monday through Friday Trends in the News broadcasts, that he's changed his life. He started dressing up. He started only eating organic food. He started exercising. He started meditating. He grew his own garden. And he's a registered nurse. He said how he treats everybody differently now. And then how the people around him have changed. His girlfriend has changed. His parents and friends are changing. They're seeing the change in him. And that, to me, that's the positive element. There are a lot of smart people out there. And there are a lot of people that know it's a bunch of BS right now. And on another line, on the political end, I believe what's happening in Italy is the way to look at the future. It's not a protest, it's a movement. And that's what we need, are movements. Going out and protesting and screaming and yelling, it gets you nowhere. Nothing happens from it. And if it does bring down a government, another corrupt government goes in place. Something new has to be designed to push out the old and replace it. And I think Beppe Grillo's 5-star movement, the good, the bad, and the ugly about it, the fact is it's a lot better than what's there.
Well, I just wanted to actually just ask this quick question, Gerald, because I know we're running out of time now. But in terms of the bigger picture and where you see things, I'm of the belief system that I think enough people at some point will begin to tip the scales and maybe start to see these things. But I'm of the mind that where we stand right now, we're on the verge, and I think we all feel this, we're on the verge of another big sort of catastrophe or a big worldwide event that will shock everybody, and they'll try to use the same tactics that they have in the past with 9/11 and other instances of that scale. And I think at maybe that point, people will start to look at the script a bit differently finally, because they're going to have heard it all before. And maybe, just maybe, and I'm hopeful here, they're going to start to maybe just question one or two things which will, as you say, sort of trickle down and open things up a bit wider, which can create these movements. Because I do think these movements will grow. They're going to have to grow because people are just so frustrated and unhappy.
I don't think, from my own opinion, and it's only my opinion, I don't think it's going to happen from a catastrophe. Because I just saw what happened in Boston. I do a Trends in the News each night. And, of course, it happened on a Monday. On Tuesday, I started reading. I said there was a bomb blast. 11 killed in Kirkuk, 12 in Baghdad, 5 in Pakistan. And I went down the list. I read off there were 55 by the time I got to Boston, 3 dead. Put it into perspective. And now the whole country, they're waving flags again, the yellow ribbons are flying, everybody's behind the government, they're raping us of our rights. What happens when there's a catastrophe, they capitalize on the fear and hysteria. And the people are so weak and so sheepish that, again, they just obeyed. They let cops barge into their homes. You look at the photos. Put in Boston. What was his name? Looking for this kid. Google it up. Put it on the images, and you'll see these cops. My God, and people coming out and obeying. So I don't think that's the way it's going to happen. I think it's more of on the economic front. Again, when people lose everything and have nothing left to lose, they lose it. They will use any catastrophe to get the people more afraid and more dependent upon, quote, the authorities. I think it has to come from another way, but I do agree with you I feel the same. I feel we are on the cusp of something very big, very dangerous, and very deadly.
Well, Gerald, thank you very much for joining us this evening. Our 20 minutes is up already. It's been delightful speaking to you. We shall make our goodbyes now. And once again, everyone, it's Gerald Celente, financial trends forecaster. His Trends Journal, you can find further details at www.trendsjournal.com. Any final thoughts, Gerald?
No, thank you very much for having me on, and keep doing what you're doing. Again, you're the change. It's as simple as that.
Oh, thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll have to work that into a jingle, definitely. Thanks a lot now.
Ciao,
Cheers
ciao.
for now. Bye-bye.
Bye.